Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Are WWE calling up the wrong NXT stars? I am Luke Ho, and this is El Fakador Laurie Blake, and welcome to the post-NXT WrestleRamble review edition of WrestleRamble, where, I mean, this was a fine show. Yeah.
Fine.
Fine is how I would describe it. A good 3 out of 5 show. It kind of finds itself sort of sandwiched nicely this week because SmackDown was really, really great and Raw was really, really bad.
Yeah.
So this finds itself very nicely just sort of in the centre of that.
Well, this is just a very nice placeholder episode of NXT.
Yeah.
And I mean, because the NXT brand also extends now beyond just NXT America. There's NXT UK. They've got a takeover coming up this weekend?
Yeah, it's this Saturday.
It's this weekend.
So we thought it was next Saturday.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of we can park this NXT for a bit.
Yeah.
They've got a thing in 2 weeks' time that's going to be really big. Slow build to that. This is the more important NXT to talk about.
Yes, I would certainly say so. If you were wondering if we're going to be doing NXT UK Takeover Blackpool predictions, we are. In fact, you can hear Ollie and I do our predictions in the podcast intro of the Saturday WrestleRamble because we've already recorded that. We were meant to do it in the video, forgot, and then I said, oh, actually, we should probably do the predictions.
Professional.
We should probably do the predictions now. Whereas you are just writing yours down.
Yeah, I'm just going to put them on a tick list.
Yep, put them on a little post-it note. Give it to Randy Datson.
Maybe I'll tweet them. Who knows? I won't tweet them. Realistically.
But anyway, so on this episode of NXT, it kind of I was thinking about this while I was watching this show and sort of on my tube ride in while I was playing Phoenix Wright. The NXT, yes, lots of pointing, lots of objections. Bloody love Phoenix Wright. I've played through those first 3 games, probably about 10 times each, on various different platforms. I've done it on DS. I've done it on, and now I'm doing it on my iPad. I've just done it on various different places.
Have you ever played the Ghost Detective game that came out?
Yes,
as well?
I did actually. Yeah, I played
is it called Ghost Detective?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that was actually I really enjoyed.
And you get on your phone. It's pretty good.
I didn't play Apollo Justice.
That's good.
Which I started playing, but I never finished, and I didn't play the Professor Layton crossover either, or any of the Edgeworth spin-offs. But those first 3 Phoenix Wright games, mwah, perfection. Anywho, so I was thinking about this on my tube ride in. You can tell how hard I was thinking about it. Just trying to protect Mayor Faye and defend her. I was thinking about the WWE they're doing this big on their way to WWE.
Yes.
You know, it was announced when the McMahons returned and said, we're ushering in a new era of WWE, we're listening to the fans, etc., etc. And then they've just made a load of what I would call empty promises.
Yeah.
These are the emptiest of empty promises.
Video packages to nowhere.
Pointless.
Yes.
Pointless promises they've made, which were, we're doing some NXT call-ups, which, by all reports, they were going to do anyway. These were just the 6 names they were going to call up regardless. They were just we're just announcing it, big air quotes for podcast listeners, early, but we actually have no plans for their debuts.
Yes.
So that is an empty promise. It's a hollow promise. Women's tag team belt, hollow promise. Nothing's come back from that. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are returning. Hollow promise because nothing has ever come off of it, and they've made no mention of it since. So it was just a lot of empty.
I feel like a week before, Sami Zayn had just had double shoulder surgery, and he was pictured with all this stuff as well. He's coming back. Yeah, eventually, I imagine. He currently can't use his arms. So
and Meltzer and Brian Alvarez talked about this on Wrestling Observer Radio on their Raw review after this new era episode of Raw when they announced these names. So they announced Heavy Machinery, EC3, Lacey Evans, Nikki Cross, and Lars Sullivan, who had already been previously announced. He's just kept busy lurking. And you look at those names, and Meltzer made the point, which I completely agree with. If you were to say, this is the new era of WWE, we're ushering in a new era where we're listening to fans, those names, and as much as I like a lot of them, they would not be high up on that list of to make a new era.
No, absolutely not. And I think that's the thing is I don't think it's necessarily a case that they're calling up the wrong people.
No,
I think that these guys were obviously always going to get called up. They were announced as sort of it's exciting. There's a new draft of talent coming in, but realistically, these specifically are the ones that you're not excited about because the ones that you're excited about are probably going to, but just in a surprising Like, they're just going to turn up and it's going to be a surprise.
Absolutely.
And you don't want to spoil that surprise to go like, oh yeah, Aleister Black's on his way. Because Aleister Black is in a match for the championship at TakeOver Phoenix. So we can't really spoil the idea that Black's going up to the main roster now, because he might be. And that's actually one of the rumours floating around, is that he might be. But, you know, if you said he is... He's not winning that match at TakeOver, so we might as well not have it. I mean, we should definitely have it. But
I suppose that is a kind of a good sort of counter-argument to this. And it's kind of sort of struck me as I was watching this. Like, this opening segment featured Johnny Gargano, Ricochet, Tommaso Ciampa, and Aleister Black. And I thought, Crikey, you could take one of those four names and say they're coming up to the main roster.
Yes.
And I was like, well, that's so much more interesting. Nikki Cross, I think, is one that definitely should... We said on the NXT year in review, she has to be going up to the main roster.
Absolutely, yeah.
But, like... Ricochet is a much more interesting choice than EC3 or Heavy Machinery or anything like that. And then you sort of look at later down the line on this show where you've got the Undisputed Era, and you're like, well, they're a much more interesting choice. Like, if you wanted to make a real impact with this new era, you would have called up actual big names as opposed to... I mean, I love Lacey Evans and all. Like she's grand.
Yes.
But is she really going to make a difference?
No, but it's
to
very...
the main roster?
I guess their biggest issue is that it's just that the people who people would be excited about coming up are in very long-term storylines, all involving each other. Like, those four people that open the show, your Gargano, your Ciampa, Ricochet, and Black, they are all... in a thing at the moment, like all four of them. Ricochet's obviously been added a bit more recently, but he's also a champion, so he can't be said that he's
Kevin
going.
Owens was.
Yeah, but Kevin Owens just turned up as champion, had a match. It wasn't like he's joining the roster, and the problem is that doesn't make it feel like it's a...
He did sort of come up and sort of started this feud with John Cena while he's NXT champion.
Yes,
so there is a way to sort of organically put them in as opposed to like we are announcing these six names.
Well, did you see the thing about the Worlds Collide... trademarking?
Yes.
So there were a couple of readings of that. The WWE trademarked the name Worlds Collide as like a show.
Yeah. Just ripping off that IDW comic where Capcom and Sega franchises collided.
But so there were a couple of readings of that. One was that it could be like a sort of indie showcase of talent from around the world, worlds colliding, or it could be an NXT versus main roster pay-per-view. That would... sounds like the sort of thing I'd love to see, and the sort of thing that would usher in a new era of WWE where NXT isn't treated like it's its own, you know, because even the wording around bringing up these six people has been coming soon to WWE. They're already in WWE. NXT is... I'm watching it on the WWE network. I'm pretty sure it's WWE.
It's a WWE product.
So let's stop pretending it's its own separate little magical world. It is obviously its own separate little magical world and has its own thing. But like, it's cool when people go down and people come up. Like, and it's cool if they can do that without having to be you're here forever.
Yes.
You know, it just makes it more... It makes the whole thing more exciting. Like when Mustafa Ali first turned up on Smackdown, and people weren't sure whether he was going to be a full-time SmackDown roster member. But that first week where people were like, oh, he's also going to be on 205, he's also going to do all this other stuff. Everyone was just like, well, that's cool. Like, it's good to see... Like, we liked when the Cruiserweights were on Raw, mostly. Like, before Enzo.
Well, I was going to say, before this, they came around with a shovel going like, well, time to bury you lots.
Yes, absolutely. But, you know, it's good when you get the kind of cross-promotional stuff. Look at the Becky and Ronda stuff. As soon as, like, someone from SmackDown turned up on Raw, people went nuts because they were like, this is just a thing that we don't see every week.
Yeah.
This isn't Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin.
You and I said this in sort of like the early days of us doing these NXT reviews. There was an episode with Tony Nese on it.
Yes.
We were like, and it was like the best showing that Tony Nese has had in quite some time. I'm like, this is great. And like Tyler Breeze, just a few weeks ago, coming down from the main roster, and it was like it was the best. It was the most fun I've had watching Tyler Breeze in quite some time.
Well, and they're doing it. It seems to be a thing they're slightly working in, because there has been... Buddy Murphy put out a tweet and said, I think he said, anyone under £205, come at me. Like next week, open challenge, not for the title, obviously, but anyone under £205, turn up on 205 Live and we'll have a match. So that suggests to me that's not going to be a roster member for 205 Live. That's going to be, you know, well, Aiden English posted little eyes looking at the, you know, there's suggestions that there could be different people turning up on these different shows to get a bit of a surprise, get a bit of hype going. I mean, you just don't see the same matches while everyone else is occupied on this much higher scale title feuds or long running storylines. Chuck in a few random people for a random exhibition match. everyone leaves happy because you're just like, oh, look, Tony Nese turned up and had an amazing match.
Exactly.
What more do you want?
Drake Maverick also promised new faces to 205 as well, with actually no announcement of who they are. So you're going to imagine there's probably some of those NXT guys that are going to be moved up to the
Heavy
205.
machinery.
Oh, if only.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. You may as well move Hansen from War Raiders. He moves around like one.
Yeah, he does, yes. Yeah.
He's deceptively agile. So
he's cruising weight, though. It's not cruiserweight.
So to answer the question, are WWE calling up the wrong NXT stars? It kind of goes both ways. In one way, I would say yes, because there are bigger names that you should be calling up before Lacey Evans and EC3 and Heavy Machinery, as much as I very much enjoy them as wrestlers. And Lars Sullivan's another one. Lars Sullivan, I would say he would do some more time down in development before he gets called up to the main roster. Particularly when you've got you look at that women's division, Ayub Shirai and Kairi Sane. There's a list of names that will be well above Lacey Evans going up.
Yeah, Kairi should have just been on that list straight away.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were done with the whole thing. Yeah,
Io Shirai's spectacular. She's already Ricochet is way above EC3 getting called up. Adam Cole, Keith Lee, Matt Riddle. The list goes on and on and on before you get to, and I suppose EC3 as well. He'll eventually get there. Because he doesn't seem like someone who would go up to the main roster and instantly be into a title picture.
No.
Granted, Andrade Cien Almas was, and well, look where he is.
Yeah. He had a good match this week.
Well, yeah, he did.
He's starting to get his push. Maybe.
Maybe finally. His first win on TV since August last year.
I just think the dressing up as Team Rocket that they did is probably a bad omen. Because Team Rocket really don't have good luck.
So, on the one hand, yes, it is the wrong names because there are other names that should be called up before them. But on the other side of that, and to a point that you made, which I do agree with, is that they have announced these 6 names in a video package that we've now been watching for what feels like 2 months. I know it's not 2 months because it was just before Christmas. So it's
about a month.
It's about a month.
Yeah.
But even so, it's a month where I've watched it on all the shows, and I'm bloody sick of seeing it now. Because
you could have filmed another thing.
It feels empty. It feels like it's getting to the point now where they've worn me down and they've essentially told me this video means nothing.
Yeah. EC3 could have put his clothes back on, and then just have a different video package. Have a highlights package of them, a bit more
a bit more pizzazz about it.
Yeah.
I mean, me and Ollie said this in the Smackdown review, which is just on week 1, you announce, Lars Sullivan's coming. Week 2, you announce Lacey Evans is coming. Week 3, Heavy Machinery.
Perfect,
Week 4, Nikki Cross. Week 5, EC3. All of a sudden, you've stretched this out. So these announcements are drip-fed to you rather than just being like, boom, loads of names. Get excited, will you?
Yeah.
And then the following week, same names, still be excited.
Yeah, ideally, if you could be really excited about these people.
If you could be just as excited as you
people
were in
were
week
only
1.
sort of excited about in NXT, that'd be really good.
So I think it goes sort of both ways. But at the same time of it, and I think we said this during one of the NXT reviews as well, that the names that you've got in NXT, because NXT doesn't draw massive houses when they do their live shows. They're usually typically performing in front of 100 people or so. Progress and Rev Pro draw more numbers than that at York Hall. So they don't draw big houses. So you've got to keep some of these big names on there, like your Undisputed Eras, like your Riddles, like your Lees, like your some of the Alistair Blacks, Johnny Garganos, Tommaso Ciampas. You've got to kind of keep these people on the roster in order to attract people to buy them. If you just move those all up, all you're left then with is NXT is built around Lacey Evans and EC3.
Kona Reeves.
Tesco's finest,
Kona Reeves.
Of course. How could I forget?
No idea.
So anyway, let's talk about this week's episode of NXT, which was, as we said, fine. So the show opened with Johnny Gargano coming out to welcome in the new year. I'm not sure if this is from the new set of tapings. I think it is, but I'm not entirely certain. Because I did have a sort of a skim through the tapings. I was trying to look for something in particular. Nothing really sort of jumped out at me as being important from it. But he's talking about, he realised, he said that his 2018, he realised that, hey, man, winning doesn't always matter. As long as you win and you have a championship.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a nice guy. Don't have to do whatever you want. You just need to be a champion.
Exactly. And he said, doing the right thing doesn't matter, and he will be a champion in 2019. Didn't specify which championship, of course. And he said that his moment in the cage with Ciampa, and I love this as well. He said, that moment in the cage with Ciampa, he was going, DIY. It's that meant nothing. He essentially treated it like it was a one-night stand. He had cheated on his girlfriend. It was it meant nothing, though. It didn't mean anything. It just happened.
He's not calling him back.
He's not. He's
ghosting him.
He is.
He's not. He's breadcrumbing him, really.
He said that he turns his attention to Ricochet and kind of says that he wants a North American championship shot instead. And that brings out Ricochet. And I like the crowd chanting, "That's a champion."
Yes.
I thought that was really, really cool.
But it was good as well because, like, you know, the brilliance of this whole bit is, you know, he's saying it meant nothing. It didn't really matter. And he's like, but that thing that he said about me being the North American champion, I've been thinking about that.
Yeah, that's great.
It's really good. I like it. I think it works perfectly.
I think someone sent us a message on Discord to say that they really hated this sort of like this writing, and they thought it was really lazy because it was like that Gargano was treating it as nothing. But the key to it is that it did mean something.
Yes,
but in his mind, he's like, no, because I don't like Ciampa.
Yes.
Ciampa is there as the puppet master. Kind of, you know, he's the one that's pulling the strings, Joe Petto, as we called him last week. But he himself doesn't see that he's pulling the strings. He just thinks, I still hate him. I'm still ridding NXT of him. Whereas Tommaso Ciampa's there going like,
Johnny is still under the thrall of Tommaso Ciampa, and he doesn't even realise it. And he still thinks he does actually. That's why you have to believe him when he says he still thinks he's the hero. Like he genuinely does.
Yep, absolutely.
I love it. I think it's great. I think this is kind of, you know, this whole I still hate you, but actually I'm secretly a bit in love with you kind of thing. It's, you know, it's a classic kind of long-term frenemies storytelling kind of thing. It's great.
It's the relationship I have with Andy Datz. Ricochet looks awesome in his suit, and he comes out and he says, all Gargano had to do was ask. But he said, are you going to ask me face to face, or are you going to kick me out in the parking lots behind my back? Ooh, from the crowd.
Thing is, if you take the title when you kicked him out in the parking lot, you're not technically the champion.
No, stop. No.
You know, that's what happened with Nikki Cross. She just took the belt. It doesn't make sense.
And Ricochet says that he'll walk out of Phoenix as the champion. This brings out Tommaso Ciampa, and he starts kind of promo, but Johnny Gargano, because he doesn't like him, just cuts him off instantly, starts telling him to shut up, and then Aleister Black appears on the screen, starts kind of promo, and I thought to myself, I smell a tag team match coming. And I thought, but if it's a tag team match, that means it's got to be Gargano and Ciampa, surely.
Yes. DIY.
DIY. And I was like, oh, hello. And then like the lights go out and Black appears behind Ciampa and they get into a bit of a scuffle. And Black tries to put him through the announcers table, which apparently aren't real tables, according to Wally Davis.
They're not.
And
the desks. It's different.
It's
a different breed, Luke.
Sort of scurries away. And then to Ricochet's point earlier, Johnny Gargano then attacked him behind his back. So he didn't do it like a man, like Ricochet asked him to do.
Ricochet was facing the right way. Johnny turned around and kicked him.
But he was so distracted.
Yes, absolutely.
By Aleister Black's wonderful
It was a cheap shot. So,
it was, yeah. Ricochet was looking around going like, God, his thighs. Look at Aleister Black's thighs. Oh my God, I've been super kicked in the face.
It's so nice to have him back. He's great.
He is lovely.
How does he appear like that?
I hope he doesn't get called up or not been kicked.
Damn.
We then got a tweet from William Regal that announced that the Undisputed Era will face the War Raiders for the NXT Tag Team Championships at Phoenix. War. Lovely stuff.
Turns out he's not as mashed up.
Yes.
As we all thought.
That really did feel like the Lars Sullivan or broken my jaw from that Aleister Black kick, which never connected in the first place. Big whiff kick that he did. Then came easily the best match of the whole night. It didn't start off particularly strong, but it got really, really great by the end, which was Bianca Belair versus Nikki Cross. And I like this. It kind of felt like I saw one review that called this show just, you know, tying up all the loose ends.
Yes.
And that kind of felt this was, because Nikki Cross and Bianca Belair have had a feud of sorts. They've had various matches. They've sort of had interactions. And that felt like the sort of the blow-off to that as Nikki Cross makes her way up to the main roster.
Yeah.
And we got that later in the show as well with Adam Cole and EC3.
And this is the point to cement Bianca Belair as properly undefeated, because the only question marks ever hanging over her streak is the fact that there has been a count-out victory. Well, a double count out with Nikki Cross, right? So, and then the one that Aleister Black interrupted as well. So that was just thrown out. So that she's had two matches with Nikki Cross that were unresolved. This was the resolution.
Yes, and she won lovely and clean. The match was kind of so-so to begin with.
Yes,
but it really kicked into a second gear, sort of about halfway through, and all of a sudden it became this like big, like back and forth match, and like you got Nikki Cross doing like her finishing moves and her setup finishing moves. And Bianca Belair just sort of scurrying away. There's a great spot where Nikki hit the perch. She nailed her with her finish. And Bianca Belair just rolls all the way across the ring to the outside.
I guess because the Purge is a rolling fisherman, she just carried
on
right.
She went,
whee!
And it was great. And then they had this moment. They did like some stuff on the ring apron, on the ramp. And then they got back in the ring. They barely got back in at 9. And then they just had this stare off and got into this awesome hockey fight.
Yes.
It was really, really cool. I thought it was really good.
I love this match. I thought there were some really cool spots. And it was just a good showcase for Bianca Belair as well, heading into. I think she's had a few too many squash matches overall and she's fantastic, and this proved it. She is crazy athletic. That gorilla press moonsault, that moonsault was she had time on the way down to be and now I land.
It's picture perfect.
Unreal. She's really good.
It's funny as well,
really, really good,
because Apollo Crews does that exact same spot, which is he does the gorilla press and then he does the big sort of standing moonsault. And you watch Apollo Crews, you're like, God, that's quite impressive, isn't it? Because the size you are, you're a big bulky lad. That's very impressive. But when Bianca Belair does it, in theory, it shouldn't be as impressive because she is slighter. But yet you're like, God, it looks so much better.
Yeah,
it looks so much better, and it looks genuinely more impressive. Yeah, it's really, really
I just
cool.
think this is, she's obviously, that's the sort of athlete that has just taken to this like a fish to water. It's she's unreal. She's got that same, and actually that's why I'm quite excited about the Shayna Baszler match, because I think they are both people who've come from elsewhere, picked this up so quickly and so easily. I'm excited to see them as hot prospects for going to the main roster eventually, that they're going to have, hopefully, an amazing match.
Yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to that match. And that the Phoenix card is already great with Undisputed Era versus War Raiders. That's going to be a belting match. Gargano versus Black. Ciampa versus Black. Gargano versus Ricochet. Those three alone, you're like, that sounds amazing.
Probably going to get Matt Riddle versus Cassius Ohno, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Might get that, or we might get Keith Lee versus Cassius Ohno.
Well, I think they're having a match next week. Yeah. And then you've got this match of Shayna Baszler versus Bianca Belair. I think it's going to be wicked. Really, really cool. Belair won by hitting the KOB, the Kiss of Bel-Air, as a finish. Not the greatest name for a finisher.
Is it KOB or KOD?
Well, I thought it was KOP at first.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. And then McGuinness called it the Kiss of Bel-Air. So which made me go it's the KOB.
But I thought it was KOD, Kiss of Death, right? Maybe. Who knows?
Terrible
name.
I'd imagine Bianca Belair knows.
Cool finisher, bad name.
Well, we'll also come on to not realising what a name is very shortly.
You had the same as me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't quite get that far.
I was like, what?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I got it. I was hoping you had it better than I did, but I think you've got it worse.
I know what it is. I've looked it up recently.
Have you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I looked it up afterwards.
But anyway, before we get to that, backstage, Ollie and I said that Daniel Bryan's promo from Smackdown, where he was cutting the promo on hot dogs and plastic straws, and then he cut a fire promo later on in the show about mustard and stuff. Those were the best promos. It was really, really great. And I was like, yeah, that probably is the best promo of 2019. Whatever that is the total opposite of what Braun Strowman did on Raw, which was absolutely awful.
Hey, Beastie Boy.
It was this was great.
Why don't you come down here and kiss me on my pretty mouth?
You sure do got a pretty mouth, boy. And it's we were like, okay, well, Daniel Bryan, he's the tippity top. He is the best promo. And then the Street Profits came out, and I was like, no, they're the best promo. I loved this promo. Oh,
it was really good.
Great.
It just it's that thing though of I would say about Gallows and Anderson. It seems like they exist in their own world, right? They're just doing a bit, and you happen to interrupt it the whole time. Street Profits are that turned up to 11. They're just always. I feel like they're just doing that hundreds of times a day on their own, and we're just getting one of them.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so good.
It was, and it really did feel like this was they weren't asked to record this.
No,
they just grabbed a cameraman, said can you come over here? We're just going to improv some nonsense, and then they recorded it, handed it to Triple H, and was like, this is what we did with our day.
Yeah, that's why for half of it they're just running away, and then they run the other way.
It was it actually felt a lot like when you and I used to do skits, and we were just I haven't got an ending for this.
Yeah.
Just
stop talking.
And so it was, and it was just them It's weird. Like, Dawkins was doing a beat, and then Montez Ford started doing a rap, which just felt completely off the cuff, and it was great. It was basically doing a rap saying, it is 2019, or 2019. He's feeling fine. I'm going to stand up for a bit, or whatever it was. And then they start walking down the fake French quarters. They had that big War Games brawl in before War Games. And just started trying to open these fake doors to fake businesses. You go like, nope, this one doesn't work. Yeah. You move to the next one. Nope, not that one either.
No more locked doors. No more locked doors.
No. And then they finally open one. It's like, we've opened a door because we're opening doors to the tag team division and the championship. And you're like, this on paper, none of this makes sense.
But it was perfect.
But I loved it.
I think it's because they just back each other up. They just like, it's like they're amazing friends because someone just starts saying something, the other one's like, yeah. What he said I don't understand it yet, but I'm sure I will when we repeat it 3 more times. No locked doors. Street Profits never lost. Never lost.
We're gonna win. We're gonna win the tag team championships. Let's just challenge the Undisputed Era while we're here. It was really, really wonderful. I've seen a lot of people because I've always been quite high on the Street Profits, and I've seen some people going like, I don't like him. It's a bad stereotype gimmick and this and the other. A lot of people say like it's crime time for a new generation, which I think is fair. I think is slightly unfair. What I would say about Street Profits and why I really like them is that this feels like if you were to just run into them on the streets, this is what they would be like.
Yeah, they're very charismatic guys, and I think this just proves it. It's not like they're being forced to be like try and do this thing that you're not necessarily good at. Like they're not trying to be thugs. They're not trying to be like whatever. They're just trying to be funny and doing it in a way that they seem to like. There's nothing about this that I feel like they've been told this is what you're like.
Yes.
They're just doing what they do, and it happens to fit the Street Profits.
That's where I come in as well. Like I really do feel that like if you did a shoot interview with these guys 10 years down the line, they would just sound like this.
Well, it's like New Day. When you meet New Day, they're the exact same in real life as they are on WWE
They're
television.
Not characters.
They're not characters. They're just doing themselves. They're like super hyper.
Yeah. Great stuff. Thought it was brilliant. Then we got a tag team match with the newly formed, although they have been on NXT UK, Fabian Aichner and Marcel Bartel, Italy and Germany, joining forces to take on
the Axis.
I've called. I got one of the guy was called Watts.
Yes, he was called Stanley Watts.
Stanley Watts.
I think his other wrestling, from what I saw on Twitter, is Perfecto. On his other wrestling name is Perfecto.
And the other man, you've written down a rude word.
I have.
You've written down the C word followed by man. I've written down Cutsman.
Yeah, it was Kunzman.
Kunzman. I've written down Cutsman, which does make him sound like a Mega Man baddie.
Cutsman.
Yeah, Cutsman. So what was his name?
Kunzman.
Cool. So it was Watson Kunzman against Aichner and Bartel. This match, considering that this was an act that you're trying to introduce as like a new tag team versus two rando
Jobby
McJobbersons. McJobbersons. This went so much longer than I thought it would. Like I had time. It might be, and this might be my fault. It might be because I did pause it halfway through to go make a cup of tea. So by the time I got back with my cup of tea, it did make the match feel like it was longer than it should have been. But still, I did think this match did go longer than I was expecting.
It definitely went longer than I was expecting, and I think also the Jobbers got more offense in
than
I was expecting.
I don't think Fabian Aichner did a single thing. Every time he tried to move, the other lad was reversing it.
I loved it though. I thought it was great. I just thought it's nice to see guys who, even though you don't know if their name is a naughty word or not, like it's nice to see them have a fair shout and like actually do some stuff. And still, I don't think Aichner and Bartel came out of it looking any weaker for having a good match that people were excited. I'm one of those people who I don't really like squash matches. I just don't think. I think like 1 or 2 is fine, but then once you get past, because there's sometimes when NXT admittedly is like 3 squash matches back to back, and you're like, oh my god, I cannot watch any more squash matches. This was a nice way to do a match where 2 people come out looking strong and some other people get to do some cool stuff that makes the crowd go, wow, he jumped really high.
Yeah.
Like, because, my God.
That pop-up powerbomb.
Did Watts jump incredibly high?
He got some air on that pop-up powerbomb.
He just went, whoom.
Yeah. Just about to wait for him to come back down.
But then his series of kicks were amazing. The step-up Enziguri. It was great.
He was very cool.
Sign that man. He's fun.
Yeah, and they even did a hot tag spot in this squash match, in this Jobber squash match. The Jobber's got a hot tag and hope spot. It was really bizarre. I don't think Aichner is as good as Bartel. Is my only real note from this match. I think
this is placeholder though, isn't it? We're waiting for Walter.
Yeah, this
We are waiting for Walter.
This felt like Bartel is kind of like they put these two together because Bartel's so good and they want Aichner to be just as good. So they're like, well, can you learn off this guy for a little bit?
Can you osmosis talent?
Exactly. Yeah.
Aichner's pretty good. He's all right. He's got an amazing power game.
Yes.
My God, he's strong.
But I really like Bartel, and the finish was cool, which was a power bomb into a German suplex, which I thought was quite nice.
Oh, that looked awful as well, didn't it? Like that looked so painful.
Yeah, really.
Because he really was like. It was quite a delay on it as well.
Yeah.
So like actually, Bartel went down. Was it Aichner did the?
Aichner does the powerbomb. Bartel does the suplex.
So Bartel's like suplex, bit of a delay, and he went down hard first, and the other guy just went.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the tiny man as well. So
it's another tag team in an already stacked roster of tag teams.
Yeah, I think this was just a showcasey match. Are these guys? Because is Bartel signed to NXT UK and Aichner signed to NXT?
I'm pretty sure Bartel's an
deal
NXT signee because he's been on NXT before.
I
know these two have been tagging together on NXT UK, so this might, as you say, a showcase match, but more for the NXT UK tag team division than it is for NXT America, North America.
I think NXT UK could do with them as like a tag team.
Yes,
going over there.
We then got Kathy Kelly backstage announcing that both Ciampa and Black have been removed from Full Sail because they're too dangerous. And then Ricochet starts walking past and she chases up to him to ask about Gargano's actions from earlier. And he says that all the respect he had for Johnny Gargano has been super kicked away. Good work, Rick. So
super kick sounds silly when you say someone's done it to you, though, doesn't it? It's like he super kicked all of that away.
Oh, he feet triggered me. And it was really unfair.
He absolutely power bombed all the hope out of me.
So one of the NXT Loud theme songs is by someone called Poppy.
I'll find out.
I don't know. But it is
Googling live on air.
Well, I looked her up on Spotify, so she is called Poppy. The song's called X. They did announce another one as well, but I couldn't really...
One of her songs is just called I'm Poppy.
Wow. I mean, it's probably a good introduction song to her. I don't know if they showed the best part of this song, and I was so curious that I did go to Spotify. Perhaps this was their intention all along. So I went to Spotify to check it out. It's a bit baby metalish, but I am 101 years old, so I can't really, I don't discover music anymore. It's what I've learned about myself. I have the artists that I like, and then that's pretty much about it. And there was a period in time when I was a teenager that I used to spend hours poring over new artists and stuff, like in magazines and whatnot, and then going down to the shops, because you had to in those days, go down to the shops and buy albums to then sort of try them out. Nowadays, now that I've got the unlimited disposal of music at my fingertips, I'm like, no, I'm just going to listen to Faith No More again. I'm just going to listen to more Rage Against the Machine.
I just listen to what Spotify tells me to listen to, and the Spotify only tells me to listen to Paul Simon at the moment, so I just listen to Paul Simon over and over again.
I think it says a lot about my music, my inability to find new music when, of all people, Ollie Davis is recommending me a band to listen to. Ollie Davis, a man who, I reckon, if you tested him, could not name you 10 bands. In the history of time. He would say Weezer, the Beatles, and then he'd get stuck. And he's the one who's recommending me music now.
Have you heard of this band called Real Big Fish, Luke?
That one I actually have heard of. Yeah. They then showed a replay of Matt Riddle beating Cassius Ohno last week with the Bro Mission. And then I've written Sarah Schreiber.
Yes.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. Nice, I got it right. She was backstage with Keith Lee, best friend of Matt Riddle, about this attack, because Cassius Ohno then attacked Riddle after the match, as we recovered last week. And he says that what Ohno did was unsettling, and next week he's going to teach Ohno some respect, and he will bask in his glory.
I want Keith Lee to do a documentary voiceover.
Oh,
He's got such a good voice. Unbelievable.
Totally right. When they did the Monday Night War documentary.
It's so calming as well. Maybe I just want him to do a relaxation tape. That would be like a Keith Lee sort of audio book that I can listen to before I go to bed.
I'll send him a text.
Oh,
and get
yeah,
him
please.
To,
can you get him to, yeah, that'd be great. If he could just make whale sound for me, that's what I want.
He would make well sense. You'd hear Final Fantasy VII in the background. That'd be the problem of it. But yeah, with Keith Lee, and it might just be because they got the same name, but WWE Network, when it first launched, they had a documentary series called The Monday Night War, where they sort of chronicled the Raw versus Nitro thing. And that was narrated by Keith David. And it was a perfect fit. Because Keith David's done a lot of voiceover work for WWE, and it's God, Keith David's got a cool voice. Maybe now they're not doing anything with Keith David anymore, just get Keith Lee to step in.
Yeah, or put Keith Lee on commentary. I'd love to hear a very calming commentary over the top of wrestling matches. And now the Canadian Destroyer.
It would be like the old days of NXT when William Regal was doing commentary.
Yeah.
Bloody loved that match. That was very nice.
That was absolutely cracking there.
Yeah, that was an excellent forearm
As you can see,
he just did.
As you can see, the neck breaker applied there with some rigor.
I'm stunned at what has transpired in front of our eyes today.
That was an incredibly close 2 count.
It's like Gary Barlow when he was on the X Factor. That was the most amazing act I've ever seen. Honestly, it nearly brought me to tears. If my robot eyes had tear ducts,
My robot eyes.
they would be watering now. The main event of the show, however, was EC3 versus Adam Cole Bay of the Undisputed Era. And this has kind of like been building for a few weeks or so because EC3 beats Adam Cole in a match despite interference from the Undisputed Era. And I've written O'Reilly, but was it Fish? He beat one of them.
He beat Fish.
Was it Fish?
It was
Okay,
Fish.
I got my note wrong there. I have written O'Reilly brackets, or was it Fish?
I think it was Fish, wasn't it? Because it was like Bobby Fish's return to the ring almost,
might have
wasn't
been,
it?
yeah.
After the War Games match, obviously.
Yes.
So.
Adam Cole, right at the start, does his Bay spot. Like, he does the Adam Cole Bay. And then afterwards, points and goes, that's me. Really
I love
made
Adam
me
Cole.
laugh.
There was a great bit as well when he dumps EC3 into the steps and he gets back in the ring and he goes... He spends a lot of time doing the sort of like celebratory poses. It's
Yeah.
really funny.
I don't have a lot of notes about the actual match itself, but I do have notes about what Adam Cole did in between the moves and what everyone else was shouting on the outside.
Bobby Fish was
Bobby Fish.
so funny. The best bit when he tried to do a move and he went, I like that idea, Cole. I like that idea. There was a spot where he got his foot on the ropes and he just goes, stay by the ropes. Stay by the ropes. Good move, Adam. when really obviously he was setting up for the last shot, O'Reilly was just going, last shot, great idea. They're so good.
Oh my
I want
God.
them mic'd up for the matches. I want them. Let's ditch McGuinness and Ronaldo. Just for this match. Let's just listen to what Undisputed Era is saying.
It's so great.
So funny.
EC3 did get a couple of spots in here, like he ducked and he hit a reverse German suplex and a lariat after Adam Cole tried to hit the last shot. But Adam Cole eventually hit the Ushigoroshi. EC3 powerbombed him off the back of that, and then all three guys tried to get in the ring, and EC3 fought them off, but Adam Cole super kicked him, hit the last shot, and won. So that'll send off there for EC3 as he bids adieu for the main roster.
Interesting send-off as well, because the commentary didn't really know what to make of it. A few times they were like, we don't know how long he's sticking around for, really. I feel like he's... maybe he wants a title shot.
Yeah.
Don't know, just in case...
I mean, they just said he's on his way.
Vince takes some time. I don't
know what on his
Will
way
he be
could
around
mean.
next time we tape something? I don't really know.
He very well could be. Because
He might be sticking around. He might...
Could be at the Rumble. We don't know.
No one tells us anything.
No, and then EC3 was being beaten down by the Undisputed Era after the match. Then the War Raiders ran down. My spot of the night, though, was when Riley and Roderick Strong set up to do total elimination, and Hanson cartwheeled out of the way. And then you just went, Yatta! And they did the move where they were going, above. It was wonderful.
It was really fun.
And then Rowe powerbombed and slammed Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong at the same time because he is super strong. And
They
then
ripped the dog tags off O'Reilly as well at one point, didn't they?
And then they did their finish and sort of sent them all packing, a bit worried because they might lose their tag team championships at TakeOver Phoenix. It wasn't the most newsworthy show. I feel like with NXT, the sort of the best way to rate a show is like, should you go out of your way to watch it?
Yes.
And I would say probably not this week.
No, I think you can catch up on Bianca Belair versus Nikki Cross, and the rest of it you can just watch highlights of.
Maybe
I would say.
the Street Profits promo. Like you find that on YouTube.
That's fun, but it's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? It's not like it's unimportant. The Street Profits promo ultimately, but very funny.
Very, very funny. If you need to be entertained, like if you've got 2 minutes while you're trying to make a cup of tea or something, search out on YouTube and just watch it then. But don't load up the network for it. That's probably what I would say. So a perfectly fine episode of NXT.
I think also just perfectly fine in lieu of the last couple of episodes that we've had, where we've had the steel cage match and we've had all these other really big, interesting spots that have happened. So this does just feel like a slight come down before we start to ramp up again.
Yeah.
And heading into Phoenix.
And better than last week's. Hour shorter, more matches.
Hey,
less recap packages. What more could you ask for? That's all we've got time for on this episode of the WrestleRamble. Click the videos that have just appeared on this desk and this button right here to download the podcast version of this show, which has got its own little intros and outros where you and I tend to talk about board games a lot because that's what we're into. And it's totally free. You can all go listen to it. It's jolly good fun. I've been Luke Cohen. This has been our fake Laurie Blake, and that was NXT Rambling.